What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast, a podcast for casual leaguers. Today, we have a preview of MSI 2019. I'm very excited. It's our first international tournament of the season, so we get to see how each region's going to do against each other, and so kind of taking a look at some of the top teams from each of those regions and go into battle on the Rift. And I'm excited about it, and I'm pretty sure you guys are if you're tuning into this podcast. Today I have Kevin Shee with me. I got Pooty and I have Nerdy joining me on the show. They are here to help give you guys all the information you need going into this tournament. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you are psyched about this, then play-ins start on May 1st, which is from this recording 2 days from now, which will be on Wednesday. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, our first international tournament. Let me get your first thoughts. Are y'all excited? Kevin, let's start with you. How you feeling about this, man?
I'm feeling great. I mean, there's so many competitive teams this year, like not just from like obviously from the main stage teams, but even in the playing level, there's just like a lot of interesting teams. I remember last year at Worlds just watching like Fangvu and even like the play and playoff levels teams just like duke it out. And they actually looked pretty competitive. I mean, like C9 and Gambit were all like relatively, not C9 Gambit, C9 Gambit and Destination Focus Me. We're all pretty solid teams and made the major region teams sweat a bit. So
for sure,
I'm looking forward to seeing how they grew from them.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of nice because again, you're getting a spotlight on some of these lesser known regions. I know for me, I don't know a ton about these regions, so I'm excited to see them on the stage. Obviously, we don't get the kind of coverage that we do for some of the major regions, but it's going to be interesting to see. Pooty, what are your thoughts going into MSI 2019, man?
Honestly, I think this is going to be like one of the most interesting MSIs we're going to see. The level of play recently has just been insane. Yeah. And I hope it keeps going up, because I feel like in season 8 and 7 the like max level of play kind of stagnated, but it seemed with season 9 and the very end of season 8 with Invictus Gaming, it seems to have slowly been climbing up again. And slowly mechanical players are getting more and more prevalent within the scene. So we're seeing a lot more outplays, we're seeing a lot more solo kills, and I'm very excited to like be able to see this action. Yeah, and I hope it's going to be a really good tournament.
Oh, I think we all are excited. How about you, Nerdy? How you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are fairly excited. I think that if you just look at the rosters and the talent that are going to this tournament, you've got the likes of Rookie, Caps, Faker. In the top lane, you've got the Shy, Wonder. Actually, a lot of the playing teams are bringing in lots of relatively talented Koreans that without much fame to them already, but definitely really strong mechanical players. Zeros from Fangvu Buffalo, who was actually at Worlds last year and put up a very strong performance. The Fenerbahce's Ruin is actually a KR player. I'm trying to recall what team has the Griffin substitute mid laner.
Flash Wolves.
Oh, Flash Wolves, yeah.
They're currently on loan with Rather, who was in Griffin before Chovy was. So like we have all kinds of unbelievably stacked talent and stacked teams coming in. However, being European,
yeah, of course,
I am concerned about G2's chances coming into this.
All right. Hey, we'll get into that, and you got to have faith, man. Hey, look, we're from NA, so me and Kevin are, so we're we got a lot to have a lot of faith in our region. But hey, you know what? That's all right. It's okay.
I'm over the CLG faith age. I'm not about that life anymore.
Yeah.
If you don't have faith, why are you even here?
Why am I
exactly. You got to have faith, man. But look. So here's the format. It's pretty interesting. So we got 2 groups in the play-in stage, and they've been randomly drawn: Group A, Group B, and these are from the lesser-known regions, the regions that have probably the least faring in past history standings. They're going to be playing a double round robin stage, right? And the best records of the winners of those 2 groups will play Team Liquid and Flash Wolves, respectively, and the winner of those 2 matches will go on into the group stage. The interesting thing is that the loser of those play-in kind of finals things, they go into a separate match, kind of the losers bracket, and they play a series, and the winner of that loser series will take the third and final spot for the group stage. And so moving into group stage, we'll have those three teams joining the SKT. They'll be joining G2 and Invictus Gaming, and they'll be playing their matches there. And can somebody help me out here? How does this work out from here? Is it, I guess, the top four teams, right, from those group stages end up playing on the main stage, right? And then we have the knockout stage after that.
Six in main stage, right?
Yeah, top three.
6 in the main stage, yep. And then after that, the 4 go on to the, the elimination stage, yep. Elimination stage. So that's the format of it. So G2, Invictus Gaming, SKT, they kind of they had the longest wait to see. Obviously, they're the top teams from their region, so they kind of deserve that. Play-ins, Team Liquid and who is it? Team Liquid and
Flash Wolves.
Flash Wolves, they get to kind of hang in for a little bit. So let's talk about that real quick. Do you think them having a lot more time to kind of prepare or, I guess scrim, do you think that helps them or hinders them compared to these other teams that are kind of going to be warmed up in these play-in stages and group stages? What are your thoughts on that? Anybody can jump in here.
I think that like
go ahead.
Go for it.
Well, all right, I'll go. So if we look at the LCK's format, where the winner from the spring, in this instance the spring, sits at the end of the finals, and they have quite a long time to wait, they don't necessarily have such a good performance after the fact, because when you're playing, for example, the gauntlet style, you get to power up and beat each team, and you do get quite a lot of momentum on your side going in. Now, with that in mind, when you look at the MSI format, it's slightly different, and I think that the teams sitting at the top, the skill difference between these and the playing teams varies enough for it to maybe not matter as much, because they get to read the information of what these teams are playing naturally. These teams might have to pull out their best tricks just to make it to the main stage, and then they're already red, which is a bit unfortunate. But there is certainly a value, at least, in being able to play it on stage, because you can't replicate that in scrims. So these players, they get the experience and they're feeling good on stage. Nerves can still get the best of any pro player, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's some level of it. It's a here and there.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So what's interesting too is that I don't want to spend too much time on the play-in stages just because there's a lot to talk about. But out of this, I'm gonna just read off the list of the people in the play-in stages, and then I'm gonna ask you guys for who you think our listeners should pay attention to and maybe keep an eye out for as the ones to watch. So if they've got limited time to watch the games, maybe you can recommend them a couple of these teams to keep an eye out for. So in Group A, we have 1907 Fenerbahce Esports. We have the Bombers, we have Isurus Gaming, and we have Fongvu Buffalo. And then in Group B, we have Detonation Focus Me, INTZ Esports, Mega Esports, and Vega Squadron. Pooty, let me start with you. Give me like one or two teams that our listeners might want to pay attention to that might make some noise in this tournament.
For me personally, one of the most obvious ones is Fongfu Buffalo. As Nerdy alluded to earlier, they have an insane top laner, Zeros, who went who got 31 solo kills in 14 games in the regular season.
All right.
And what I've seen compared to his world performance, because he was at Worlds as well, he seems to have improved even more. And I feel like he could possibly give someone like Licorice a run for his money. I'd have to see that first. But I don't think it's outside the realm of possibilities. And another team that I'm kind of excited for is 907 Fenerbahce.
Oh yes.
Bolulu seems interesting. I don't know how good he's going to be on the international stage.
Okay.
And Kire is still a really good player, a really good jungler. So yeah, we'll see if those two teams manage to absolutely pop off or not.
Okay. Unfortunately, I wish Licorice was playing in this tournament. I wish I could take some of the the best players, because unfortunately, he's not on Team Liquid. Unfortunately,
the way I look at it, Licorice. Still, Licorice is a very.
It's a good
high
standard.
bar.
No, it's a good standard. For sure.
So even using him as a standard shows
the Licorice standard. Absolutely. Oh yeah, that gives you. And if any of you out there have watched the NALCS, you know how good Licorice is. So to compare him to that is pretty amazing. Kevin, what about you? Who you looking at here? Do you agree with those two?
Yeah, so for Group A, really quickly agree. Fenerbahce and Fonvu are looking good. I wanted to say that for Bombers and Mega, I don't think you should expect anything from them this time around. They used to represent the OPL region, and now
Right.
they split OPL into LST and OPL.
Mhm.
So it basically, like, let's just say, let's take the Direwolves and halve their talent, and that's kind of how I felt about it. There's some players you might recognize like G4 and Rocky, but they've never really shown up. So I don't think they're worth looking
Okay.
at. And Group B, I think the two headers are Vega Squadron, who beat Gambit Gaming on their way in,
Okay.
and Detonation Focus Me, actually. Because DFM looked good against, I would like to say, C9 last year, and Vega Squadron looked pretty good in their finals. We can briefly touch on them later if we need to, but
Sure.
INTZ is looking sketchy at best. The Brazilian team, and Megas just
Yep.
doesn't look special. So
Okay.
I think that if you want to watch a match, watch Vega Squadron as a favorite, and then Detonation Focus Me as a close second, third
Close
place.
second.
But I
Okay.
think they'll get second.
All right. Nerdy, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have
Agreed.
to agree with what's been said so far. I would
Okay.
argue that I don't think that Fenerbahce is the second team in all of Plains that I think look good, but I think that it's all watching their finals against Supermassive. They basically, to context that, both teams were 16-2 in the regular season, and they met in the final. The Supermassive got 3-0'd, but in the games they weren't played very well. There was a lot of messy things, like the mid laner was actually straight inting in certain games. Their top laner was trying his best, and their top laner will certainly be somebody to watch from Fenerbahce specifically. But if there's any playing team that you should be excited for, and I mean really excited, it is definitely Fangfu Buffalo. I actually believe the Fangfu Buffalo will make it to main stage and potentially make more than an upset. I don't think it would be considered an upset. I think they'll have one of the strongest performances any playing team has ever had at MSI. They
Ooh.
are
Okay.
the same lineup from Worlds. Their
Mhm.
top laner has improved. Their mid laner, Null, same. It's the exact same lineup. Their mid laner has drastically improved his level of play, and he plays a very specific style that a lot of mid laners, the aggressive mid laners, can't necessarily play that they want to play. He plays the Lissandra pick, and he plays like Morgana mid. He plays these control defensive mid laners, but he plays them very
Okay.
well. We
Yeah.
watch competitive LCS games, you see the likes of Bjergsen take Lissandra mid, and you kind of go, why did they draft the Lissandra? They didn't do anything with it. This guy will win his lane with the Lissandra, which is
Yeah.
what you're supposed to do because she's strong. But also, if he loses lane, that's not technically losing, given that the player skill gap would be like so wide. So he can nullify deficits in the mid lane, and the rest of his team can, be like star players if they have to be. I think that
Gotcha.
Fengbu are looking.
So
I
are
am
we saying
high on.
Group A? Are you guys in consensus that Group A probably has the more stacked amount of teams on here
Yeah.
compared to Group B?
For sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure how it panned out like this.
Yeah, and and so the winner from Group A, first place in Group A, will be playing Team Liquid in the play-in for round 2, and then the first place from Group B will be playing Flash Wolves. And so I guess you could say that Flash Wolves should have the easier time making it into group stage. The good thing is that even if it's a tough team for Team Liquid, even if they happen to lose, they do get a second chance to go in the losers bracket and hopefully get to the group stage. Now, let's talk about their chances. How do you guys think that Team Liquid and Flash Wolves fare against all of these teams that you've mentioned? And how do you think that's going to go? Let's start with you, Pooty.
I think Flash Wolves has a pretty decent shot. They seem really strong. And it's really cool to see that this team, even with a rather young and new roster, is still able to rise to the top. So I'm really excited to see if they can execute and if they can win. It's gonna really depend on who goes out of their group and if the styles line up properly, because I feel like Flash Wolves does very much rely on a very singular style.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, other than that, it looks pretty good for them. Team Liquid, I'm less sure about. I always find that NA is quite reactionary, and I don't think you can be reactionary in this meta. And Team Liquid, as much as they do probably have one of the best bot lanes at the tournament, bottom lanes don't have that much impact anymore on the game. They
Right.
don't carry 90% of the game anymore. And top and mid, I feel like they're gonna have very much bigger deficits unless Impact manages to redo his Worlds performance where he got to be a world champion. But
Yeah.
I don't know if that's gonna happen. So we'll see what happens with those two teams.
I mean, they are kind of buffing tanks, right? Isn't that?
Yeah.
And that's
Yes, they
Impact
are.
style. So, Kevin, do you
Not
think
it.
that there's a team in the Group B, section? Is there anybody that can contend with Flash Wolves? You think, or do you
Yeah,
think Flash Wolves
actually,
pretty
yes.
much have it?
I watched the native broadcast for LMS and was just listening to the commentary and everything, and
Mhm.
I actually think that while the Flash Wolves looked really good in their finals, it was deceptive.
Hmm.
Just to give you an example, Mad Team, the other team that was in the final, they drafted Sion, Rek'Sai, Lissandra, Ezreal, Braum as their game 2 composition after getting destroyed in game 1. Now,
Yeah.
riddle me this: what is this team comp supposed to do? This looks like week 1 of last year's Worlds before people started playing carries all the time.
Mhm.
And so I look like Mad Team was just stuck in the past. I mean, anyone
Right.
can look good when you let Vladimir through 2
Oh,
games in a row
gosh.
and Silas through 2 games in a row for Flash Wolves to draft.
You're right about that.
Flash Wolves, I think, have a good chance of losing to Vegas Squadron, actually.
Okay.
I think that Rather is a good player. He's quite a good player. I can see why he was a Griffin starter before.
Okay.
Hanabi showed up in the finals. He was super strong. But keep in mind, Flash Wolves was I believe they were the 2nd place seed going into the finals, or going to playoffs, because Hanabi did not show up all of the regular season against pretty low-level teams. So if he doesn't show up at Worlds, which is very possible,
Yeah.
I just don't have a lot of confidence in him. And then the bot lane, Betty's still pretty solid. Like, he popped off at MSI
Sure.
last year, so
Yeah.
that's where but as Pody?
Pooty. Yep.
As Pudi said before, like, bot lane isn't as important.
True.
So I actually think Vegas Squadron has a good chance. If it's LJL, I don't think they'll have a good chance against Elmas, though. Their matchup's not great because
Okay.
their mid laners got pocket picks like Heimerdinger, but it can only counter things like Zoe, and Flash Wolves hasn't even picked Zoe once.
All right. Well,
so yeah.
let's stick in the same vein, but let's put it now to Group A, and I'll start with you again, Kevin, since you're an NA resident, and then we'll get your thoughts as well, Nerdy and Pooty. But Team Liquid, who do you think? I mean, obviously Group A seems a little more stacked, so I'm a little more worried about them. But who do you think is going to give them the most trouble? And do you think they have a chance still to win that, or how do you think they win that if they play against a strong team in Group A?
So obviously, I mean, this isn't like a surprise to anyone. Fumble Buffalo is the strongest team in the play-ins. So I would say that Team Liquid would have the most trouble with them in terms of, just strength of teams and threat. However, actually, because Fumble Buffalo plays through the combination of Zeros, the top laner, and Meliodas, the jungler, I think that Team Liquid should be fine. Team Liquid has always dealt well with teams like. Historically, they've dealt well with the carry tops, despite the fact that, yes, Impact looks poor in lane, but like they come out of it. Like, they're 2-0 against Cloud9 with Licorice and Svenskeren, which, most people would argue is a pretty good combo. And I don't think it's like, if it were worse than Meliodas and Zeros, I don't think it's by much. And they were able to handle Broken Blade after adapting to the rest of the team. So
Right.
keeping in mind they don't have a Bjergsen in the mid lane, they have Null or whatever his name is. Like, I think Team Liquid is more than capable of handling him. And also the Fumble bot lane's like Big Koro and his sidekick. Palette, I think his name is, right? Yeah, Palette. No, you've never seen him do anything. Big Koro was okay at Worlds last year. He did get a solo kill on Sneaky, I think it was, or a duo kill. But besides that, he did nothing. So I just think that Team Liquid should be fine against them. And then Fenerbahce is just worse in most manners, except because they play through Kyrie and Ruin. And Kyrie's like the rank 1 or rank 2 EUS player on the solo queue ladder all the time. They're good players, but I mean, Smithy doesn't even need to play League, and he can still kick ass all the time. So I'm not super concerned.
That is true.
It's always a miracle that Smithy can play other games and still do so well.
I know, man.
So
I don't
think
know.
Team Liquid will be fine,
jungle,
but Flash Wall should be sweating the losers bracket match if they make it there against Kung
Nerdy, let's go to you.
I would tend to agree. I think that despite the hype that I definitely have for Fang Fu Buffalo, they're kind of losing out in the TL matchup because their top laner and their jungler might be really strong, but their
Mhm.
bot lane is inconsistent. Their support likes to overextend quite a lot, and if you're gonna, could you think of a worse lane to be have a support that may misplay frequently against
Oh
double
gosh.
lift and coach
Yeah.
AJ?
Yeah.
Literally, like you're just gonna the bot lane will get rolled over more than likely. I do think that the drafting is going to be particularly interesting because the minor regions draft they played all of their playoffs on 9.6, which
Okay.
is
Yeah.
fair to say that they technically would have been a patch behind what we might have expected to see, but they were still drafting like Aatrox mid, Lee Sin, Lucian, while Ashe and Varus were priority AD carries.
Mhm.
So they maybe I'm not assuming that after scrims in Korea and whatnot that they're not gonna have a good read on the meta now, but potentially they maybe it's a preferred playing style that they're gonna draft some stranger picks than usual that might edge them out in like if they have some kind of clever pick ban.
Yeah.
Alternatively, that could very much hit them, shoot them in their own foot. And I also don't really see them winning the bot lane. It's like 70-30 for Team Liquid to win that, but there's still a solid chance that they lose. And then I imagine Fangvu just beats anyone else in the losers bracket because they're
Okay.
better
So
than I'd say they're better than
let's
everyone
make
else.
predictions then, Pooty. Let's start with you. Who are the three teams that are going to the group stage?
Honestly, for me, it's not really that difficult. It will be Team Liquid, Flash Wolf, and Buffaloes.
Okay.
There's a small chance that probably every other team can take it, but I think this is just the most likely situations.
Okay. Kevin, Nerdy, do you guys agree? Do you got anyone else to throw in that
I
mix?
just for the sake of being interesting and trying to throw something in there, I'm gonna put throw down the gauntlet, put a bet down, and say that Vega Squadron actually makes it out over Flash Wolves.
Ooh, over Flash Wolves. Okay.
I think that even though without necessarily thinking of the stylistic matchups, I think that it's potentially possible because I do think that Flash Wolves are way weaker than we've ever seen them.
I think I agree with that too. Kevin, do you have
Well,
anyone else to
he
add
took my
into the
fire
mix?
there,
Okay, so you were
'cause
gonna
I
do
was
that
about to say
too.
the same thing. I mean,
Okay.
I don't. We saw Flash Rolls last year with Maple and Sword
Yeah.
Art, and they looked
Mhm.
shaky in the playing stages,
Yeah.
and they didn't look great. Well, they looked okay at Worlds, but without those two players, you put some support who most people haven't heard of, and I mean, Rather's decent, but he's Korean, so he can't speak their language as well
That's
either.
true. Mhm.
So you add more communication issues, and you have like Hanabi, who has looked okay at international, but just hasn't looked great this year, even domestically. Like Baker Squadron probably can beat them, and I think I would favor them like 60-40 personally.
Ooh, okay. So interesting.
With that in mind, I also think Fungal Buffalo will destroy them in the losers bracket match. So I agree. It's Vegas Squadron, Fengvu, and Team Liquid.
Okay. Cool. All right. So be on the lookout for those three teams, I would say, in the play-in stage. Now let's move on to the group stage. So, like I said, the three who we've predicted, possibly, maybe, we got some variance there, but they'll be joining G2, Invictus Gaming, who are last year's world champions, and SKT, the resurgence. Oh my gosh, of SKT and Faker. All right, guys, I'm gonna let you. I'm just gonna leave it open here. Give me your thoughts on the group stage. Let's just start from who is the top four here? Group stage. Let's just start with that since we're already talking about predictions.
Do you want it in order, or just to first put the pool out there and then we?
Let's put it in order.
Okay.
Because that'll
Sorry.
accomplish both. So,
I mean, I think we probably. I assume everyone here is thinking IG is first.
okay.
But
Yeah.
I do.
Oh, nerdy.
SKT.
Well, I would I'll put my list out then.
Okay.
IG as first place. I would put second place as G2 if they feel Mickey X.
Okay.
And then SKT third, and sadly Liquid fourth.
Oh, Liquid fourth.
And then we can go into it afterward.
Never heard that before.
Okay, nerdy. Let me go with you because I want to. Nerdy, let's go with you because you seem to disagree. I want to hear this.
SKT, IG, Liquid, G2. It hurts me to think that G2 aren't going to have a solid performance at this tournament. But I do think that they are playing Promise Q. It's pretty much confirmed that they're playing Promise Q, which is going to really hamper
Can
them.
we
In
talk
fact,
about that for a second? What's
Yeah.
happening with Promise Q? Can we talk about that? What's going on for maybe our listeners who haven't been caught up? Let's talk about that for a sec since you're there.
So G2's Mickey X, the support player, has had a wrist injury for pretty much all the way through the spring regular season. He actually, I think he missed a couple of games near the end. Then he played in playoffs because they wanted to obviously win.
Yeah.
But he hasn't. He's been stuck to 2 scrims a day. Hasn't been allowed to play solo queue. He hasn't been scrimming with them in Korea or playing Korean solo queue. He can't play for too long at all. And obviously, if he can't practice, then why bring him on a stage?
Okay, so you're saying the substitute is going to be in Promise Q?
Yes.
Okay.
Which Yankos had mentioned on stream previously that they were scrimming with Promise Q, so things weren't looking too good.
Okay, but to riddle me this though, I saw a Reddit post that all of them have made masters in Korea. Hello.
Yeah, Promise Q was the person that was on that list that had made masters.
Yeah, but Mickey X wasn't on that list. He hasn't played solo queue.
Yeah, he's not
so he hasn't. Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, so go ahead.
I do want to add in real quick before we go on.
No, go ahead.
That for the NA viewers to imagine what G2 is feeling right now, imagine if you went to MSI as a super strong team and then your support just randomly subbed out for some academy level support like Joey, Promise Q. And imagine how you would be feeling right now. That's how G2 is basically feeling.
Basically, imagine if Team Liquid were like, Code JJ, you remember when you used to play with Kiwi Kid? Yeah, he's gonna replace you for this tournament. Yeah,
but is Mickey X? So you gotta school me and the rest of the listeners here. But is he like the kind of impact player like losing Core JJ would be?
Mickey X is the best mechanical support in Europe.
Okay, so he is. So basically, G2 is made up of all the super laners.
It's a super team.
Oh gosh, jeez Louise. Okay.
Kid SKT, and arguably if this G2 came to MSI, they could actually win the whole thing.
Wow. Okay.
But Promise Q is genuinely that below. Like he's been in EULCS several times, and he's been relegated every time, including so much so that he actually name changed because people meme him to how bad he is.
What was his old name?
Sprattle.
Yep.
Poor guy.
But the irony is that he changed his name to Promise Q, Promise Q, because he always, there's no way to escape it. Wayless and Godvia still feeling the gold 5 kind of meme of
my word.
subreddit. Yeah. Either way, moving. I believe that despite the issues that SKT can certainly have in the top lane, and especially against the Shy, I do think that macro and just based on the strengths of this SKT team, that they will be able to take it to Invictus. I do actually think Liquid will have a good showing, despite the fact that they have had poor international performances before. They are bringing Core JJ to an international, and that's a completely different thing in terms of motivation and getting your team better. And I actually think that now that I did say G2, but I do think Fengvu could potentially actually be above G2. And maybe if it's a best 3, if they make it to a quarterfinals, then they could beat Liquid. But I'm in a round robin. I'm not thinking that's that likely.
Hold up, Ryan. G2 got to semifinals with Hjarnan and Wadid in the bot lane. So
yeah,
this is way too harsh.
With Cap and Perks.
I would much rather set my expectations as low as possible going in. If I'm honest,
I dig it.
I am 90% sure G2 is at least stronger than Team Liquid.
Nah,
I'm 90% sure.
Without, because
with Promise Q,
I think Team Liquid's third.
Without, it's not even a doubt. But with Promise Q, it's 70-30
I love it.
probably.
Think about the fact that Double Lift Core JJ are going to match up against the Perks.
Yeah, that's the exact thing. Because Perks is such a wild card in the bot lane. The ultimate flexibility that GT will have in draft, Double Lift cannot possibly match that. And seeing as though Team Liquid already has weak solo lanes, they are just going to be stuck with always bad matchups with weaker laners. And I feel like these solo lanes will be able to push their advantage to such a point where the bot lane difference doesn't matter. Also, G2 showed that they can read the meta insanely well, or at least make insanely out of meta picks with the funnel they did in the finals all of a sudden, which I don't think anyone saw coming.
Not at all.
So
Apparently Origin did, but
yeah,
And,
it's a little
and
late.
maybe
I mean-
and maybe it's a case of like, so yeah, he might not be the best mechanical support player, but it might be a case where they're like, this is what you do. It's like, here's what
Yeah.
you do as your, and I mean, I'm not saying support is a lesser role, obviously it's not, right? But to pull off these crazy comps, you still have the rest of these insane mechanical beasts in there, with Wonder and Caps and Perks, and Yankos. Like, all of them can still pull off some of these crazy comps, and it might be a matter of them just having to kind of babysit Promiscu a little bit. But I mean, I don't know. That's my thinking. Nerdy, what you got to say?
I was gonna say, I will admit that the downtick on G2 is prevalent for me because I genuinely believe coming in with Mickey X that they are the strongest team, not solely on their like solo laners, but their like draft ability and the way that they could play
Sure.
the draft.
Yeah.
We've seen them match up against IG at Worlds before with a worse team and did relatively well. They didn't do amazing, but like
Mhm.
this time around they could do okay. And the SKT team, although being arguably better players by like slight edges, the way that G2 play the game with like early aggression and this SKT team are for like late scaling, they could also take games there. However, I feel like going into the international tournament, between what G2 have said, where Ocelot has said openly they don't actually care about winning MSI, it's about Worlds. They're happy, they're fine to let Mickey X sit on the side. Promiscu will come in and play the games,
Sure.
and it's whatever.
I mean, sure,
The
for the long haul,
mentality-
yeah.
I think the mentality going in from the team, I think there's a lot
Probably
to
is
be
that.
said that will
And there's
bring
kind of
back-
there's kind of an unseen benefit too, I guess, is that one, you could say, oh, we lost, but that's because we didn't have our main support in there, right? Two,
Yeah.
you can maybe hide some of your strategies, right? Or you could try
That's
stuff
also
out.
true.
You can also
do get to hide
try some stuff out, and if it doesn't work, well, we didn't have our main team, so it doesn't really matter. But again, I think and there's always that benefit of saying, well, we don't have our team. They got really nothing to lose, right? Because now the expectation is slightly lowered because they don't have their full team. So real quickly before we go to Pooty, because I know we had a lot of like side lines there. What's your top four then? Give it to me, your top four before we move to Pooty. Nerdy.
Okay.
So you said
I'll say
SKT.
this. SKT, IG. I still think that Team Liquid potentially edge out G2. I
Okay.
do, and then G2 because obviously
Okay.
I still think that G2 would be playing better than Funky Buffalo, but I do think it's a mix up between the bottom three. I think that it potentially could go either way. We can see if we see
Nobody
Funky
cares about the
third,
bottom three. I'm just kidding.
that would be third place in MSI is particularly
it's great.
respectable.
Sure,
for
sure.
a playing team for NA.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
whoa.
I love it. Hey, man, I'll take the shade. I don't mind. Hey, the trash talking is what makes this fun, right? I'm all about the trash talking. All right, Pooty, give it to me. What's your four? What's your top four?
I cannot decide if Invictus Gaming or SKT is going to be the stronger team right now. I'd have to have watched some games to at least see where the meta goes, but it's going to be either one of those, which is the strongest and the other one being the second. Right now it would be SKT, but if the meta shifts in any way, shape, or form towards more lane focus, then Invictus Gaming gets it. And then after that, it's G2 and Team Liquid.
Okay. Okay. The difference then is you put G2 above Liquid. That's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. That's cool.
Not a
all
hard
right.
choice.
Yeah. No. Okay. So I think the matchup that maybe, I don't know, you guys could have a different opinion, but the matchup I'm very interested in to see is SKT versus Invictus Gaming. You have Faker against Rookie. You have Khan against the Shy. Like, this is going to be an amazing, I cannot wait to see it. Plus, the whole storyline between, with Korea falling so early in Worlds and the kind of the resurgence of Faker, and people just wanting to see him do well again. And, Korea's back in it, right? So what do you guys think about this? Let's break this matchup down specifically, because I think it was unanimous across the three of you guys that these are the top two, maybe, and Pooty even thinking it's interchangeable. So the top two here, let's talk about this spotlight matchup. I believe the first time they play is May the 11th, Saturday, May 11th. And I believe it's 8 a.m. Eastern time. So that's going to be the first time, and I'm excited for that match. So I'm going to definitely put that on my calendar. But let's talk about that real quick. Give me your thoughts on this matchup, Kevin. Let's start with you. IG versus SKT, man. How's this go?
So like,
How's this play out?
SKT resurged, but they resurged against Korea. So like, how much does that really mean? If you actually watch Korea this year, Sandbox was freaking second place for most of the season until the end. And you know why they were second place? Because they were a challenger team that had an identity. That's what qualified them as second place in Korea. So SKT came back because they got their shit together. They figured out more of the playstyles. Khan was a little less inty, and they Klid was able to play around him a lot better. And the meta shifted toward champions that Khan can play. I mean, Khan is still spamming things like Aatrox, the occasional Riven, and he's getting away with that because, for the most part, most of the teams are not a match for him there. Like, had Sword, and granted, Sword did solo kill Khan at one of those games. Sword is not a better player than Khan. Like, it's such a mismatch.
Yeah.
Faker's still Faker, and I think Faker will always show up at international competitions, so we can't count that out. But Rookie doesn't have a Faker problem. All the other mid laners in most of the history of international tournaments have a Faker problem. Jensen has a Faker problem. Kuro has a Faker problem. Nagne didn't, but like Bjergsen had a Faker problem.
Ryu
Of
has a Faker problem.
Ryu
Oh,
has
yeah,
a Faker problem.
of course.
Faker is the destroyer of Ryu's career, but
Oh my
but
gosh.
Rookie
Too
has
soon.
Rookie has looked better than Faker before at times when he was in Korea. So Rookie shouldn't have a mental block there. The Shy is just a significantly better top laner than Khan in any meta, in my opinion. Khan is like the Shy, except without the well-roundedness and some of the IQ points. Like, it's just, we're going into a potential tank and carry meta, like where you can go between the two.
You can flex,
and switch your team style based on whatever's like the draft priority. And Khan can't play tanks. Like, I know it's a cliche, I know it's a narrative, but it's also the truth. He just, every time he picks a tank, you just wonder, what did we ever do to deserve to watch this? Like, and not in a good way. Klid has looked worse than Ning when he was playing in China last year. Like, Ning knows this guy inside and out. Like, Klid was like the third or fourth best jungler, and Ning was the second or first, depending on who you ask, behind Karsa. So like, once again, down the map, just top, mid, and jungle, it's already either an even, like a matchup that can be neutralized, or just like a favored matchup. And then you go to bot lane, Jackal Balan versus Teddy Mata. I think that is where SKT will get their edge in, because I think Teddy Mata, at least Mata has the experience, and Teddy Mata on paper are better, but Jackal can show up. Like, once again, Jackal played against Mata and Deft last year in the KT IG, and he popped off. Like, he just went in, got a quadra kill on Xayah, ended their hopes and dreams. Like, they have experience against this Korean superstar team. None of them have mental blocks, and they are the reigning world champions. China won everything last year. So
that is true.
Korea, like, I mean, we're living off of like, it's like when we think about like old CLG or something, we're like, CLG might have a chance today, and then you watch him get crushed. You're like, well, 6A is a former MVP, so someday he could do it.
He did.
And then you just see nothing. I just think that at some point the Korean hype train will crash.
Pretty attacked, to be honest.
However, they're still better than the other teams. So
so you're saying this is not the year of Korea, not this year. Okay.
The year of Korea was way back, dude.
Oh, okay. All right.
I think this team, if they come together a lot better, SKT is a potential first place team at Worlds, but not now. At least for now, they're not ready. They only looked good because they once again stopped a really bad drafting team in the finals. Griffin picked Pantheon Talia for 2 games straight. True. And like, that wasn't the only problem they had. Tarzan lost his mind. He literally was like, I did this level 3 tower dive in the first game. In the third game with the same comp, maybe I could pull it off. And SKT's like, are you serious? So like, SKT looked good because they were just styling. That's all.
Okay. Pooty, let's go to you. Pooty, let's go to you. Give me your thoughts. Do you have anything to add? That was a pretty good, thorough breakdown there. But do you got any notes to add as far as this matchup, IG and SKT?
Well, Kevin skipped over one Invictus Gaming substitute, Duke, who could be kind of vital in this matchup as well. As Kevin said, Khan is not a good tank player, and Shy is definitely better than him, but also definitely not the best player. You want him on a carry. But then you have Juke, who can definitely play a low econ tank role, and he can definitely execute that. And the team also seems to know how to execute around that. So if we do get a tank meta back where tanks are strong enough to be able to handle carries, then Juke could definitely be an option to sub into Khan. And one other thing to note is that I personally do think SKT is stronger in team fighting. From what I've seen, Griffin used to be the strongest team fighting team within the entirety of League of Legends, because they had the 5, I think it was called the 5 as 1 style, basically where 5 minds think as one and fight as one. And I think SKT has been one of the very few teams to actually be able to mimic that style and be able to actually adapt to it and brawl it out by essentially using their own weapons against them.
Okay, nice. Nerdy, do you got any thoughts on there, the SKT IG matchup?
Yeah, I tend to agree with most of what's being said, particularly pertaining to the top lane side. Thinking about that Khan is not the SKT Marin where he's going to play 25 games of Maokai and in this meta. Not the Maokai's meta, but Nautilus is certainly going to be a pick coming into MSI that's going to be played a lot, top lane or support potentially. Though I actually do believe that SKT can win this out, and it pretty much just comes down straight to they might IG might not have mental blocks against these players, but the consideration of the fact that this is the strongest looking SKT team that we've had in such a long time. They play this style of League of Legends, which a lot of League of Legends teams want to perfect, which is if they play very minimal at the start of the game to stop deficits, and then they scale up into late where they just out macro you. I still think that SKT are going to out macro IG if they get to 30 minutes plus. But also, and obviously, IG can play very messy and disrupt a lot of these players. But Faker's not going to be particularly disrupted about dying once or twice. This SKT team is the type that are smart enough to rebound from large deficits. Now, do I think that can IG beat this SKT team in games? Of course. If we're talking about like a finals, definitely 5 games without a doubt. And after the first week of plans, we'll see what the draft is going to look like. So you can make a much more fair approximation of what the games are going to look like, because right now, obviously, we don't really know what the teams are drafting at all, and therefore we can't necessarily say, like it's going to go. We know that it's probably going to go into tank meta, but who's to say that Khan hasn't put 100 games into Nautilus, and Nautilus is not that hard to execute.
Sure.
Come on, dude. Come on, please.
Kevin disagrees.
Play Nautilus. It's not you point and click the ultimate, and the AD carry runs away, and it doesn't matter how far he flashes. It's fine. Like you're good. Or just play Vlad, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Speaking
matter.
Is 9.8 the patch for MSI, or is it 9.8?
Yes,
it's 9.8.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 9.9 reworks now.
That's not in there. Okay.
Thank God.
Okay. So
it's gonna be chaos. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be nuts, and we'll be doing a patch episode this Wednesday too when it comes out. So it's gonna be a lot to talk about. But going back to the MSI now, so that was my that was my match that I really wanted to see. Is there anything else that? And obviously it's because I feel like those are the 2 best teams. But is there any other matchups throughout this whole tournament that you guys have been kind of like, I kind of want to see this, maybe stylistically, maybe draft picks wise or rivalry history? I don't know. Is there any other matchup that you guys are interested to see?
I still think that the G2 games should be interesting to see if they draft anything particular, because especially against the likes of SKT and IG, they're going to be even more draft dependent on their gimmicky picks to try and edge out games, because their solo laners can do it, but their bot lane is I would argue a non-factor, despite how talented Perks is as a wild card. He's still coming into a tournament with Teddy, Double Lift, Jackie, like a world champion Jackie Love. These aren't pushover LEC AD carries. These aren't even pushover LCS AD carries. These are 3 of the best.
That's right.
Throw that in.
Like, I don't care how good Perks is. Like, he might even playing mage meta. Like, you think that these teams aren't necessarily prepared for that. I do think that Yeah, like
Okay.
I am underwhelmed thinking about the potential of G2 winning those games. But if you want to see some fun stuff, then
Yeah, I
like
have to agree with that.
that's
G2, you
that's
never
where
know.
it'll be.
You never know what they're gonna pick, man. They'll pick a friggin'
Zion,
Heimerdinger, Scion. You're like, where's that going?
Zion.
I don't even know. Forget about it. It's not even.
I get,
It's not.
Mhm.
You'll
guess
scratch your head
Perks doesn't-
thinking. Yeah.
Perks doesn't go bot lane, he can't lose lane.
Exactly. All right. What about you guys? You got any favorite matchups besides the ones we mentioned, Kevin or Pooty?
Go ahead.
I mean, I personally, I'm looking forward to G2 versus Team Liquid purely because of the banter that's going to take place. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Always fun. And
But see, y'all have an out though, because y'all could be like, well, if we lose, it's because our team wasn't there.
Oh,
See,
you
that,
guys have
Yeah,
an out.
exactly.
You guys have an out as
We're
well.
safe.
You
What-
guys
what's our
lose
out?
if the double lift was on your team. Like, what?
we
All I
always got
gotta
it out with
say
them.
is-
Too soon, man. Too soon.
Last year when Ole subbed himself out, we got so much shit still. And they lost, and we got shit for being one game away from playoffs. And Ole had a freak out, and he left. And, like, mental health is important. So, if there was
Sure.
a legitimate reason, I understand. But
Sure.
we still got shit on as a region for up until Worlds as being irrelevant because of that. So, and then C9 redeemed us a bit at Worlds. But, like, the point is, like, these excuses will be made, and I think they're legitimate, but that doesn't mean it won't be spicy as hell if G2 loses to Team Liquid.
Oh, I'm
Once
still
or-
gonna
I
be
mean,
talking, y'all.
God forbid.
I will
twice.
still be
Everyone
talking.
is.
I will still be talking if NA wins. That's all I'm concerned about. You know what?
I mean, for sure. I mean, when G2 took a vacation before they came to MSI one time,
Yep.
and then they
Oh, yeah,
drove
that's
to
right.
MSI World. They took a vacation before. That was their excuse, and I mean, okay, that's a way worse
Okay.
excuse, but that is
Sure.
like definitely a reason why they didn't care about the MSI, and then they got
Yeah.
dumpstered on for the rest of their existence until like only recently do people not meme about G2 vacation as much because
Kings
like
of Europe,
newer
Kings of
fans and stuff, yeah.
Vacation,
Sure.
Kings of
Kings
vacation.
of excuses.
I
Kings
mean,
of vacation.
there's a reason they're still considered the EU villains.
Yeah, I mean, they always
Yeah.
have an excuse. You really gotta think about it. Every time they come and they
Mhm.
have some other reason.
Yeah.
They won't, if they don't perform, they can hedge their bets. And if they perform, like,
Sure.
wow, look how good G2 is.
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm kind of sick of their shit.
Yeah,
Ocelot
there you
sitting
go.
in the GT house, like breaking Mickey X's wrist, like,
I
no,
agree.
dude, we need a way out. We can't lose to Team Liquid.
Hey, that's all. That's the match I'm tuning in for. That's for sure. I'm gonna have you guys in Discord to make sure that. And then if we lose, you will
Oh,
not.
yeah.
You will not see me in Discord if we lose. So like a week later.
If I get
I'll be
onto
like,
the
"What
show,
game?
I'll
I
come
didn't
on
see
even
that."
If we lose, okay.
Okay, well there you go. Now I'll be on
I
there.
won't back down.
I promise I'll be humble in victory. That's all.
Yeah, I won't.
Lies,
I just won't.
nerdy. I don't believe Pooty. At least Pooty's honest. Lies. I don't believe you, nerdy. But no, the thing is, I will be there. Look, I like to dish it out. I can also take it. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes this fun. And I'm glad that, hey, look, we can come together. We can have a show together, but we can also still talk smack. And that's what I'm talking about, right? All right. So, all right. I know we talked about top fours, all this stuff. Let's just boil it down. Who's winning the whole tournament? All right. Let's go down the route. Kevin, then we'll go to Pooty and Nerdy. Kevin, who's winning MSI 2019?
I mean, once again,
No ifs, ands, or buts. You just got to pick one, man.
It's IG.
Okay, that's it. All right. Pooty?
I have my pitch going.
Oh no.
Pooty, who do you got? Who's winning it? He's thinking. You guys, you can't see this if you're on audio, but he's thinking. He doesn't want to say, but I know.
It has to be SKT.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got one
I
for
was gonna throw the wild
IG,
card in there.
one
was
for
gonna throw the
IG,
wild
one
card.
for SKT. Okay, Nerdy, you're the tiebreaker here.
Fangvu, but now
Nah, yeah.
SKT. I
okay.
do believe that in a best of 5, there's no way that SKT like lose out unless they're just terrible at drafting.
I
Which they
guess
can
let me talk about this then real quickly. Okay, so we had two votes for SKT. Kevin, you voting for IG. I personally want SKT to win because I'm a Faker fan. It brings me back to the old days, right? With Korea being the super region. I do think IG is going to win. But I think it'll be close. And I think all of you guys are kind of with that caveat that it's going to be interesting no matter what. So it's not like we're going to see a stump, or at least that's what we're expecting. But so let me talk about this real quickly because we do have a little bit of time left. So with the discussion of IG and SKT, as regions, as a whole, because the LPL is like huge now, isn't it? Right? Like I don't even know how many
Yeah,
teams
it's
there
like
are.
16 teams or something.
Yeah, it's
and
a
they're
lot.
meant to go to like 20 plus.
Yeah, and that's crazy. So I mean, as a region, do you think is China? I mean, obviously they've won all the tournaments last year, but as a region as a whole, is that the consensus among you guys that China's the stronger region as a whole when it comes to League of Legends? Like, are people going to go to China to rank and get boot camp training, or are we still saying Korea is still the place to be?
I think Korea is probably still the solo queue ladder based
Okay.
on just because of a cultural thing. But I don't think China have ever been that far behind Korea since pretty much since season 2. The difference that I would hedge out when you move towards like season 4, where China looked like lost compared to Korea, was just an understanding of the meta and the way macro was controlled. But since then, Riot have decided to change the game to a way more sporadic approach, which the Chinese players just it's what they were born into, was like crazy team fighting, just being able to have that go trigger and being able to team fight better and play better than certain players. It's not like we haven't seen a lack of Chinese superstars. And obviously, when Korea started moving over to there with their exodus a little bit, that also helped definitely up their level once again. Yeah, I do actually think China's definitely the best region in the world right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kevin or
Besides
Pooty?
Europe, obviously.
As the LPL follower since it was incited. I mean, China. Okay, so the Chinese players, for people who don't know, most of the Chinese pros practice on the Korean ladder. So the ladder in Korea is still the place to go if you want a boot camp, regardless of how strong China is as a region. But China has 5 to 6 teams who are all about similar calibers and who could beat each other on any other day as IG. And we agree, like the callers here agree that it's going to be like a 4 to 5 game series against SKT, the best Korean team. So I think it's, it's transitive property, but I think it's easy to make the statement that at least right now China is the strongest region. I mean, they just have the numbers, the resources, and the meta is also in their favor. Like the Chinese teams, I agree with Ryan or Nerdy that once they change the meta from less warding, less resident sleeper, a wall of wards, and you just sit there and you know everything that's happening. China has always been on the up and up. They had 2 semifinalists in 2018 or 17, and then they won 2018. And they won everything in 2018, including Rift Rivals, which had all their best teams literally clashing with each other. So it doesn't mean as much for NA and EU because it's honestly kind of one-sided usually. But for the Asian teams, that was an insane match, and you saw them try hard. Like all the coaches came together, brought all their secret strats, and invested them into each other's teams.
Yeah.
That I don't think that ever happens for NA or EU, but
it's true.
So I think China right now is the strongest region.
Okay, Pooty, do you agree? Disagree?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is that in China, the amount of spending that has gone into the scene has gone way up in recent years, and that's where their major source of power comes from. Before this, it used to be that purely the Korean scene was the most invested into, but I think China now eclipses that by millions, if not billions at this point. So it means that there's just so much more infrastructure going on there that it's really hard to keep up with. And a really long time ago, I had a discussion with a friend of mine about Korea versus China. And we basically came to the conclusion that in China, Koreans will always try to play a really controlled style, where they try to execute very slowly and very controlled, and always make sure that if you make one misstep, they will take half your base. While China will always try to make 13 plays at once, at least, if not more. Just so that if one goes wrong, there's 6 other that goes right. And they want to make sure that that's just how China plays. And with the game moving in that direction, it just meant that they could execute on that style more and more and just get way better and perfected.
Okay.
I also think that Riot will never go back to that style of super controlled. I think that they see the viewership of last year's Worlds. They see how exciting it is to see things happening. They don't ever want to have lane swap meta happen again. They don't ever want to have a wall of wards and you just see everything. Like they're choking them out. No, they want to see clown fiestas. They want to see this. I think that Riot is consistently since last year till now, they keep on patching the game to make the gameplay like this. So I think that China will continue to be dominant unless a Korean company buys out Riot Games or something.
And then they're patching all over the place. All right.
Well, you never know.
You never know. I don't know.
Be able to see.
Yeah. All right. Final thoughts, guys. I'll give you about 30 seconds to a minute each if you got any final thoughts. Let's start with you, Nerdy. If any final thoughts heading into
Are we
MSI.
allowed to plug? Or are we
Yeah.
talking about thoughts for?
Yeah, do
Well,
whatever you want.
If
Yeah,
we're
sure.
plugging, really quickly, me and Kevin over here actually run our own little podcast show. Mostly
Nice.
we're going to be focusing about the LEC coming into summer. But we've done our own
Yes.
MSI
Perfect.
review. There's
Mhm.
another video going up potentially today. I guess it depends on when you upload this video, but the
Sure.
29th, the video should be up
Okay.
as a little MSI power rankings you can go watch. So you can catch me over on Twitter at LEC Nerdy. And of course, I am actually horrifically sorry for G2. Everything I've said in this video, I did not mean that you would lose to Team Liquid. Of course, we're going to win it all. Kings of Europe, Flame Kingdom.
It's too late.
You know.
It's too late, my
Mhm.
friend. Just kidding. Pooty, you got any thoughts? Last thoughts or anything?
G2 is gonna take a tournament.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
never
Alright.
cup game.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll pick Zoe top lane, Heimerdinger mid lane, and Vayne jungle, and we'll just win everything, and it's
Oh
gonna
my
be easy
gosh.
clap, and we're gonna go home.
Easy.
If that
That's
happens,
what
the sad
about
thing is
basketball.
that G2 probably could pull something like that off and do decent.
Sad.
well.
I would think that would be exciting.
It felt fantastic.
Yeah. Kevin, you got any last thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, IG is gonna win. I think that we're gonna have a real interesting show afterward when we talk about it, and I'm triumphant about this.
Yeah.
I think that Doublelift's gonna show up this time. By the way.
What?
He has
We've
4
been
JJs
saying that for
left.
how
That's
many
actual
years?
support.
Come on, man.
Yeah, but he had Ole and Biofrost. It used to be him dragging the support along. Now you have
Alright.
a world champion, and
Okay.
he's gonna take him for a ride.
I can agree with that.
2.0.
Jensen showed up at Worlds last year. He actually showed up real hard. He carried really hard on
Okay.
LeBlanc, and LeBlanc's still playable. So I think Liquid's
Alright.
gonna go far. I think Liquid's gonna beat G2 for sure. And
Yes,
be a
I
fun
agree with
Discord
that.
chat
Okay,
afterward.
well, I'm excited about that, y'all. It's gonna be a
I don't
blast.
care how this keeps playing. It's just
EU
funny.
mids, man.
Hey, well, you know what? Since we're talking about the Discord, if you guys want to join the conversation and the banter, then I'm just going to put the Discord link there. If you want to join in and talk your smack, it'll be a lot of fun. But either way, guys, it's going to be fun. Like I said, this is the first international tournament. We're going to get to see all these regions come together, put their best out there. I'm hoping for some just weird stuff that we haven't seen and like just some craziness to happen. But it's going to be a blast. And we may do another show somewhere, maybe after the playing stages or something, and assess again and see what's happening there, because it's going to be a pretty long tournament, you know, when you consider play-ins going forward. But that's going to do it. I want to thank my co-hosts again, Kevin, Pooty, Nerdy. Thank you so much for being here, guys. I appreciate all the support. We appreciate the support. So go ahead and subscribe on iTunes. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating. Leave an amazing review. Again, you can make up stuff. We will not be offended. But until next time, guys, don't be too toxic in your climb. Enjoy the rift, and we will see you guys on the next episode.